Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjai Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjai Hari Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabham Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jannavalabham Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Brihadrakacharya Asta Tarasata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Privajakacharya Asta Sarasata Shri Srimad Zaman Grace. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Devamrita Swami Namane. Purvraksham Cha Bhakta Vinada. Pratatapi Karunyam Yasasavich Tenama Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravan Vijayini Nirvishesi Shinnivari Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. They were reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Fifth canto, chapter 19. Text number. Which text number? 7. This is continuing a description. Lord Ramachandra, spoken by Hanuman. Please tolerate whatever mucus orchestra is going on in my sinuses here. Yes, Canto 5, Chapter 19, text number 7. Na janmanunam mahato na saubhagam navan na buddhir na kritis tosha hetu taryad vrishistan apino vanao kashash chakara sakye bata lakshmana grajaha. Na janmanunam mahato na saubhagam navan na buddhir na kritis tosha hetu taryad vrishistan apino vanao kashash Vanaukasash Chakara Sakye Bata Lakshmana Graja Najanmanunam Mahato Nasobagam Navan Nabudir Nakritis Tushahetu Taryad Vrishistan Apino Vanaukasash Chakara Sakye Bata Lakshmana Graja. Lakshmana Agrajaha. Agrajaha means the older brother, one who comes first. Agrajaha. Word for word translation says, not, Janma, birth in a very polished aristocratic family. Nunam, indeed, Mahata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not, nor. Saubhagam, great fortune. Not, nor. Vak, an elegant manner of speaking. Na, nor. Buddhi, sharpness of intelligence. Not. Akritihi, features of the body. Toshahetahu, the cause of pleasure to the Lord. Tai, by all those above mentioned qualities. Yet, because Vishishtan, rejected. Api, although. Naha, us. Vana Okasaha, the inhabitants of the forest. Chakara, accepted. Sakye, in friendship. Bata, alas. Lakshmana Agrajaha, Lord Sri Ramachandra, the elder brother of Lakshmana. Translation and purport. By His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. One cannot establish a friendly relationship. One cannot establish a friendship with the Supreme Lord Ramachandra on the basis of material qualities such as one's birth in an aristocratic family, one's personal beauty, one's eloquence, one's sharp intelligence, or one's superior race or nation. None of these qualifications is actually a prerequisite for friendship with Lord Sri Ramachandra. Otherwise, how is it possible that although we uncivilized inhabitants of the forest have not taken noble births, although we have no physical beauty, and although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends. Report. In a prayer to Krishna expressing her feelings, Srimati Kunti Devi called him Akinchana Gochara. The prefix a means not, and kinchana, something of this material world. One may be very proud of his prestigious position, material wealth, beauty, education, and so on. But although these are certainly good qualifications in material dealings, they are not necessarily for achieving friendship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who possesses all these material qualities is expected to become a devotee, and when he actually does, the qualities are properly utilized. Those who are puffed up by a high birth, wealth, education, and personal beauty, Janmaishvarya Shruta Shri, unfortunately do not care for developing Krishna consciousness, nor does the Supreme Personality of Godhead care about all these material qualifications. The Supreme Lord is achieved by devotion, bhaktyamam abhijanati. One's devotion and sincere desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the only qualifications. Rupa Goswami has also said that the price for achieving God's favor is simply one's sincere eagerness to have it. Lolium ekam mulyam. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is said, Kolavecha sevakera deka bhagya sima, Brahma Shiva khande yare dekya mahima, Dhane jane panditye Krishna nahi paye, Kevala bhakti ravasha Chaitanya Gosani. Behold the great fortune of the devotee Kolavecha. Lord Brahma and Shiva shed tears upon seeing his greatness. One cannot attain Lord Krishna by any amount of wealth, followers, or learning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is controlled only by pure devotion. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very sincere devotee whose name was Kolavecha Sridhara, and whose only business was to sell pots made of the skin of banana trees. Whatever income he had, he used 50% for the worship of Mother Ganges, and with the other 50% he provided for his necessities. On the whole, he was so very poor that he lived in a cottage that had a broken roof with many holes in it. He could not afford brass utensils, and therefore he drank water from an iron pot. Nevertheless, he was a great devotee of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a typical example of how a poor man with no material possessions can become a most exalted devotee of the Lord. The conclusion is that one cannot attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Goswami through material opulence. That shelter is attainable only by pure devotional service. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What do we do? Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So herein Sri Hanuman is saying that the only requirement for becoming a devotee of the Lord, for having a friendship, is just that when a sincere desire to serve, and that nothing else can facilitate or oblige the Lord to become our friend. Certainly not any material quality like good birth or learning or beauty or wealth. Queen Kunti says, Janmaishvarya Shruta Shribir Edamana Mada Puman. Naivar Hatyapidatum Tva Naivar Hatyapidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. That she says actually that to take a good birth, meaning to have a very healthy body with some high status from day one. Janma Aishvarya, to have a lot of wealth, power, influence. Shruta, to be very learned, or Shri, to be beautiful. She says these things are sort of intoxication. Edamana madapuman. They intoxicate a person such that a person who has these things, they cannot call out to the Lord with sincere feeling, as if they have nothing else. Akinchana gochara. Akinchana means of nothing else. So a person who thinks my body, my wealth, my learning, my beauty, these are all valuable things. And therefore, I don't need to surrender completely to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Krishna. Then they're intoxicated. Edamana madapuman. How can such a person call out to the Lord with real feeling, thinking, I have no one else but you. I have nothing else in this world. So Hanuman is saying that this is the only requirement, just sincerely serving the Lord with devotion. Nothing else is really valuable to Krishna. He's already the husband of the goddess of fortune. What is our money worth to him? Our few dollars. What is our beauty? Our bodies are so disgusting. We think we're so intelligent. We don't even know how many hairs are on our head. And it's with us all the time. And nobody's born into any particularly good body in Kali Yuga. Everybody is subject to suffering from day one. So what is this? What is this to Krishna? Useless. Only someone who renders service sincerely with devotion actually pleases the Lord. So Hanuman here is reminding us by citing his own example, saying that he and his brethren, the Kim Purusha means, what kind of people are this? Kim Purusha. They're kind of like monkeys, vanaras, forest dwellers. But he says, we don't have anything that's really valuable, really significant, and yet we have such an intimate friendship with the Lord. So how is that really possible? He doesn't actually answer the question in this verse. Oh, oh Lord. But in the next verse, he does answer. So here's a little prelude to tomorrow's verse. In the next verse, Hanuman does answer that he accepts even a small service offered by his devotee. Thus he is satisfied. And as soon as he is satisfied, the devotee is successful. So that's what Hanuman's getting at. It's only the service offered in love that really has any effect on the Lord, not anything of this material world. And if we finally come to terms with that, then we can call out the Lord with real feeling. Naivar hatyavidatum vai tvam akinchana gochanam. If we're intoxicated by our possessions, our bodily concept of life, we can't call out with real feeling. We can't say, oh Krishna, please accept me as your devotee. Please, Krishna. We'll be thinking, no, I've got so many great things going on. If this whole Hare Krishna thing doesn't work out, then at least I have my beauty. I have my intelligence. I have some wealth. I have some status I was born into. If the whole Hare Krishna thing doesn't pan out, I'll be fine. I got all this other stuff. This is not how we can chant Hare Krishna. To chant Hare Krishna, we have to have nothing else. Akinchana gochara. Akinchana gochara means I got nothing. I have nothing in this world of any substance. Actually, all of my wealth, my possessions, my family, all of these things are just like an anchor. It's just like my own grave, my personal grave. I got nothing of any substance and value. All I have is Krishna and devotional service to Krishna. That's akinchana gochara. That's the attitude that we want to cultivate. And Queen Kunti, she does that. That's why she says this verse. As you recall, throughout the life of Kunti and the Pandavas, there's just so much turmoil, so much catastrophe. They lost everything several times. First, Kunti loses her husband and is forced to live as a widow for the rest of her life, taking care of young sons, living in the house of political opponents who really are trying to kill her own sons. Then they're exiled, house burned down, attempted poisonings, another exile. It just goes on and on and on. Attacks, agitation, aggravation, conflict. It just never stopped for Queen Kunti. She's always suffering. But then near the end, after the war of Kurukshetra, her attitude was such that actually this is the best. Vipada Santata Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru. Oh, what is that verse? Vipada Santata Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsyat Apunar Bhavadarshanam. She said, actually, it'd be so good if all of those things would happen again. We lose everything. All of that calamity, all of that catastrophe, all of that pain and all of that suffering. I wish that it would all happen again because that's when we really took shelter of your lotus feet, knowing that we have nothing else. So, dear devotees, are we ready to pray like that? Like Queen Kunti, are we ready to pray to the Lord saying, please, a little more catastrophe and calamity today because I'm just too puffed up and proud, thinking that I have so many things, thinking that I have so much shelter in the material energy. I've got money, I've got learning, I've got beauty, I've got it all on the whole package. Are we ready to pray to Krishna, saying, let the calamities come so that I recognize I have nothing else but Krishna? If you pray in this way, the Lord will reciprocate. I have personal experience, but only just once. I made that prayer just once, and the Lord reciprocated within 30 seconds, maybe even less, actually. I can't tell you the story. It's a very long, drawn-out story, the famous curse of Vishnu Maya. But it began with me praying to the Lord in this way, that I'm just so puffed up and proud, thinking that I have so many things besides you, O Lord. Please help me to recognize all I have is the shelter of your lotus feet. I prayed very intensely like this to our Shalagram Shila and our Brahmacharya ashram, Govinda Deva. And then the Lord reciprocated very, very quickly. It was tumultuous, and it resulted in several men having to leave the Brahmacharya ashram and all sorts of incredible punishments so that we could only take shelter of Krishna. And all of us are doing so much better now because of that. So the Lord reciprocates very quickly. There's another friend of mine from New Zealand, a mother and daughter. I think I've mentioned this story before. They were traveling throughout Vrindavan, going to all the temples around Vrindavan, and praying to each one, saying, please, just whatever it takes to make us pure devotees. Whatever it takes, Lord, just make us pure devotees. And then as soon as I got back to New Zealand, the young girl was swimming in some lake on the property, the new Varshana property. It's kind of like a farm property, except they're not growing anything. And then she dove into some water and smacked her head on some rock and she became quadriplegic, paralyzed from the neck down. And her mother had to just drop everything to take care of her. And this girl couldn't do anything except just sit in front of the deities and look at them and chant. That's all she can do now. But they said that this is the Lord's reciprocation. So, dear devotees, are we ready to pray like Queen Kunti? Vipada Santuta Shashvat. Let the calamities come so that I realize I have nothing else but you. Because nothing else has any value. It's only when I realize that I have nothing else of value that I can fully take shelter of the Lord. and chant with real feeling, saying, "Hey, Krishna, please accept me as your devotee." So that's the standard of bhakti that we're meant to aspire for. And even if we can't do it, we should at least appreciate the standard as it's being described by Kunti Devi. And as for Hanuman, he's making clear also. He says, just look at me. I'm just a monkey. I wonder how many devotees here have read Brihad Bhagavatamrita. I'm going to pivot before I faint. I'm going to pivot to saying a little something about Hanuman from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is such an incredible text. Translation and commentary by Gopi Paranatana Prabhu. And in the first part, of uh, it tells the story of Narada Muni searching after the greatest devotee, one who has received the greatest mercy of the Lord. And he goes to all these different places, meeting all these devotees. After he's heard something about the glory of a particular devotee, he would go there and say, "You've received the most mercy of the Lord. Please, place your lotus feet upon my head." He was really just trying to find which devotee has received the mercy of the Lord. And he started with this famous king in a particular region who was just doing such wonderful, lavish worship of the deity. And this king said, "No, no, no, I haven't received any mercy of the Lord. You have to go and see this devotee over here." And he saw this real Paka Brahmana. And then the Brahmana is saying, "No, no, it's not me. I'm not the recipient of the Lord's mercy. It's actually this devotee." He goes up into the heavenly planets. He sees many devotees. I can't remember the exact order of all of them now, but eventually he gets to Lord Shiva, Prahlad, and then Hanuman. And each time he would meet one of these devotees, he would talk to them and he would glorify them, saying, "This is what I've heard about you, that you had this exchange of love with the Lord, and that the Lord protected you in this way, and so therefore you are the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy." He would glorify these devotees and beg for their blessings. But then each devotee would say, "No, I'm not the recipient of the Lord's mercy. I have nothing. A real recipient is this other devotee." Eventually, Prahlad told Narada Muni to go see Hanuman. And when he met with Hanuman, Narada Muni was glorifying him so much. First, he saw that Hanuman was worshipping the deity form of Ram and Sita in Ayodhya. Ayodhya, the Loka, the planet of Ayodhya. Although Lord Ramachandra was not there, as you know, as part of his ecstatic Leela, he left. He left and cast all of the residents of Ayodhya into the great ecstasy of feeling separation from the Lord, which is quite intense. So Hanumanji was worshipping Lord Ramachandra and Sita Devi in the deity form as Narada Muni was approaching. And he could see all the tears in Hanuman's eyes as he was offering flowers and offering prayers and so many things. Narada Muni came to Hanuman and glorified him so much, saying, "You are the recipient of the Lord's mercy in so many amazing ways. He empowered you to do something that even he couldn't do. When Lord Ramachandra wanted to cross over the ocean to go to Lanka, he couldn't do it. Lord Ramachandra couldn't do it. He empowered you to do it." Hanuman just jumped. He just felt Hanuman. He was so empowered by the Lord. He could just jump all the way over there. So Narada Muni was saying that you are obviously the recipient of the Lord's mercy. He wanted you to do the service, something that he can't even do. In this way, he went on glorifying Hanuman, saying so many wonderful things about him in their other devotional exchanges. Finally, Hanuman said, "No, no, 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 no. I'm not the recipient of the Lord's mercy. After all, how could I be? He's left me. He's not even here." Oh, now I remember. Hanuman said, Lord Ramachandra, he took every one of the residents of Ayodhya back home, back to Godhead, except for me. That's right. It wasn't that everyone in Ayodhya was feeling separation. All the devotees of the Lord in Ayodhya, they went back home, back to Godhead at the end of Lord Ramachandra's manifest Leela in this world. Only Hanuman remained. The Lord wanted Hanuman to remain as an example of a devotee, as a preacher, Krishna consciousness, and of course to bless him with the superior bhava of separation, vipralamba bhava. So Hanuman is saying, I'm not a recipient of the Lord's mercy. That's not possible. He took every one of the residents of Ayodhya back to Godhead except for me. How could I possibly be something special? In this way, he was crying. Finally, Hanuman regained himself and he said, if you really want to meet the devotees who have received the Lord's mercy, you have to go see the Pandavas. This is what Hanuman said to Narada Muni. Just like all the other devotees that Narada Muni had spoken to. Hanuman said, the real recipient of the Lord's mercy are the Pandavas. He said, these Pandavas, they're so dear to Krishna that even Krishna acts as their servant. Krishna acts as the chariot driver for Arjuna. To drive a chariot is not a very glamorous position, especially a war chariot. The the warrior on the chariot, in this case, Arjuna, has to kick the driver. In the heat of battle, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of yelling. Things have to move very quickly. So you can't just say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, oh my dear Lord Krishna, please turn right. There's no time for that. You have to kick the driver. Kick on the right side for them to turn right. Kick on the left side for them to turn left. So when Krishna takes the role as chariot driver of Arjuna, it's not like some glamorous position. Still, the Lord wants to serve the Pandavas. This is what Hanuman was saying to Narada Muni. The Lord wants to serve the Pandavas. He said that these Pandavas are so dear to Krishna. He empowered Bhima to be even stronger than him in fighting Jarasandha. Krishna wanted Bhima to have the fame and the recognition for being the one to defeat Jarasandha. He actually empowered him with even more strength than he has himself. He said, how about that for receiving the Lord's mercy? So Bhima was the one to split Jarasandha in half again. He was born in half and then put back together by some witch, and then Bhima split him in half again, right down the middle. It's awesome. Hanuman was saying about these Pandavas, they're so dear to Krishna. They're so dear to Krishna that oh Lord, that Draupadi, she looks just like Krishna. In fact, one of her names is Krishna. Did you know? One of the names of Draupadi is Krishna with a long A on the end, because female names have long vowels on the end. She's so dear to Krishna that she looks like Krishna. She has the name Krishna. When, after the fateful dice match, when Draupadi was disrobed and insulted, and the Pandavas were exiled to the forest for 14 years, then Krishna came. Everybody was there at this dice game except for Krishna. It's very suspicious. All the great kings and leaders of the land were there except for Krishna. So it was only after the Pandavas were exiled, they went into the forest. Then on that very night, Krishna came to their camp since they were living as mendicants again. Draupadi ran up to Krishna and started pounding him on the chest. Where were you? What were you doing? Why weren't you here? And then Krishna reminded her, I did protect you. From that point on, Krishna acted as their servant. He would go and negotiate for them. Uh, he would try to engage in diplomacy on behalf of the Pandavas. He would have intimate pastimes with Arjuna, hanging out in the forest, mano y mano, just like talking about their feelings. It's really quite remarkable. And that's when the burning of the Khandava forest took place. During the burning of the Khandava forest, Arjuna used all of his great power to deliver the Khandava forest to Agni Deva. And in this way, they also attacked a bunch of demons and monsters that were living there. And the demigods were so impressed by this feat. Oh, that's right. Arjuna and Krishna, they fought against Indra, who was supposed to protect that forest. But Arjuna won. He was so impressed. Indra was so impressed with Arjuna, he offered him some benediction. So please, you ask for anything you want. First, he offered a benediction to Krishna. Indra offered a benediction to Krishna. And Krishna said, the only benediction I want is that I'll always be friends with Arjuna. So anyway, getting back to Hanuman. So Hanuman's telling all these wonderful things about the Pandavas and telling Narada Muni just how they're the recipient of the Lord's mercy, how they're so dear to Krishna, how they're always in an intimate emotional relationship with Krishna, how when Krishna needs to leave Indraprastha, they just beg him, no, 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 please just stay for a few more days. And so Krishna stays for a few more days. And then when he's about to leave, they beg him again, please just stay for a few more days. And then they stay for a few more, Krishna stays for a few more days. And this way it just goes on and on and on and on. Krishna is so endeared by their love and by their friendship that he literally serves them, literally serves each and every one of them. So Hanuman was saying, these are the real recipients of the Lord's mercy. You should go and see the Pandavas. And Narada Muni was just getting so excited hearing about the glories of the Pandavas. He just became so overwhelmed and thrilled. He said, let's go. Let's go. Let's go to Dwarka right now. Let's go see the Pandavas right now. No, not Dwarka. Indraprastha. Let's go and see the Pandavas right now. Come on. But then Hanuman wouldn't go, even though they were all ecstatic just thinking about the Pandavas and their relationship with the Lord. They became so worked up. And Narada Muni was ready to run there immediately. But Hanuman said, I can't go. You please go. I can't go. Hanuman said, the exchanges of love between Krishna and the Pandavas are so refined. They're so sophisticated. Krishna sees himself on an equal level. He sees himself on an equal level with the Pandavas, considering himself their friend, their servant, their messenger, their well-wisher, their politician, their driver. He said, I don't understand this mood. For me, the Lord is my superior all the time. I can't understand the intimacy, the Bhakti Vishramba Bhava of the Pandavas. Bhakti Vishramba is when there's not so much reverence. Sometimes the Pandavas have some reverence for the Lord, but oftentimes they're just buddy-buddy, laying down in the same bed together, sharing war stories, going hunting, even talking about girls. This is the intimacy of the Lord's connection with the Pandavas. And so Hanuman is saying, I can't go there. I'm just a monkey of the forest. What can I possibly understand about the sophisticated devotional exchanges between the Lord and the Pandavas? I can't go there. I'll just ruin it. So then in sadness, Hanuman stayed in Ayodhya and continued to worship his Sitaram deities. Because his bhava is Ishvara bhava. The Lord is our superior. I'm the servant, he is the master. That's the only way that it can be. But for the Pandavas, they go beyond this Ishvara. They see the Lord as their friend, as their well-wisher, as their caretaker, as their assistant, as their brother-in-law, since Arjuna is married to Subhadra, Krishna's sister. In all ways, they're just so intimately connected. Hanuman said, what can I understand about this? So similarly for us, dear devotees, if I may be so bold, we should consider the position of Hanuman and consider that attitude. They say fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So Hanuman is the angel who fears to tread all over the intimate loving exchanges between Krishna and the Pandavas, Krishna and the Brajabasis, This is beyond Ishvara Bhava. It's beyond awe and reverence. And we should not rush in like a fool, where angels like Hanuman fear to tread. Rather, we should try to understand by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada in his books that superlative devotion is such that there's no reverence. One doesn't even know Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That becomes unimportant, insignificant, eclipsed by the ecstatic devotion. We should not take that cheaply and think that we understand and fail to recognize the supremacy of the Lord. It's one thing to love the Lord so much that you don't care that he's God. It's one thing to love Krishna so much that you don't even care that he's God. It's another thing to love Krishna so little that we don't even care that he's God. And if we're honest, we might find ourselves in the latter category more often than the former. The former category is very special. To love Krishna so much, you don't even care that he's God. Hanuman was saying, I can't go there. I can't understand that. That's just beyond me. I'm just some monkey from the forest. What do I know about the sophisticated, intense devotion of the Pandavas, the exchanges of love between the Pandavas and Krishna? So Hanuman setting a good example for us, helping us to learn what devotion means. And therefore we can benefit so much from these verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, this chapter, because the Lord is in our heart just as much as he's in the heart of Hanuman. He's just as much as he's in the heart of Arjuna. The Lord is also in our heart. The difference is that Hanuman has very sincere desire to serve the Lord, whereas our desire is mixed with all sorts of other things. We don't take complete shelter of the Lord. We're taking partial shelter of Krishna. And also, I got all of my money and I got all of my fame and I got my beauty and I've got some sophisticated ways of speaking and blah, 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 blah. So let's try to emulate Hanumanji's mood here. Actually, none of that means anything to Krishna. Only the sincere desire to serve is sufficient to satisfy the Lord, as it says in the next verse. Only the sincere desire to serve satisfies the Lord and makes the devotee successful. Hare Krishna. I don't think I can do any more. I'm a little bit under the weather. My throat's killing me here. So I'll just finish there. I don't know if anyone can even hear me. I turned up the microphone all the way. I'll finish here and ask if there's any comments or additions or subtractions. I highly recommend everybody read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It is the gold standard of BBT publishing, really just practically on the same level of Srimad Bhagavatam in terms of how finely edited and presented it is. All the word for word translations, all the purports, just so much in keeping with Srila Prabhupada's mood, so expertly presented. And it's really quite an amazing text. So please read Brihad Bhagavatamrita if you haven't already done so. Hare Krishna. Okay, thanks dear devotees for tuning in, making our lives successful. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada
Hare
ki jai,
Krishna.
Nitya Gaur Premanandi, Haribo,
Hare Krishna.
Haribo, Taraka
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Thank you, Yashadev Prabhu, for a very nice class in spite of the fact that you are dreadfully ill. I greatly appreciate your great austerity. And
Just practicing for death.
yeah, good point.
It's like a little warm up, when you have a high fever, it's like you get a little taste of what it's going to be like to die. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, Prabhu. What were you going to say?
No, no, I'm here to hear from you. Anyway, um, I myself am a mess today, but um, today is the disappearance day of Sri Bhagavatam. Uh, is there anything you could tell us about Bhagavatam?
Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya, what was his Siddhanta? The
Um,
Dvaita. His
Waita,
was
yes, Tattva,
dualism.
Tattvavadi, Waita.
Right. So yeah, he was an acharya of which line as well? Oh, our line. It's the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So he's also in the disciplic succession originating from Lord Brahma. And he's one of the acharyas who established a particular school of thought. Of course, the main question from the Vedas has always been, what is the relationship between the jiva, the living entity, and the absolute truth, or God? Excuse me. And Madhvacharya, he emphasized Dvaita, dualism, that the Lord is one thing and the jiva is another thing. And this is in contrast, of course, to Shankaracharya's Advaita, who argued for monism, that really the soul, the jiva, and the Lord are the same. It's only an illusion that we think otherwise. So Madhvacharya, he established his Dvaita philosophy based on the Shastra. It might sound really simple to us, but that's because we've had the benefit of Srila Prabhupada's books. He's made very complicated things so simple. So Madhvacharya, he established the Dvaita school of philosophy, and he had some amazing pastimes. He is also a partial incarnation of Hanuman, and he's very powerful. He was extremely strong. Oh no, not a partial incarnation of Hanuman. It's something to do with Vayu. I can't remember now. I'm sorry,
Yes,
Prabhu.
he is said to be an incarnation of Vayu.
Vayu, yeah. Hanuman is the son of Vayu. So he was also very powerful. Like he was really strong, not like your usual sadhu. Not like our modern sadhus in Kali Yuga. You can hardly pick up their own books. Well, Madhvacharya was very strong, and he was also a very strong philosopher. And he established his Dvaita school all over Southeast Asia, and that philosophy became more refined and perfected in Lord Chaitanya's Akincha Bheda Abheda, which is very similar to Dvaita. We are not the same as God, obviously. That should be obvious when you're forced to run to the toilet in the middle of the night. You should know, I'm not in control here. I'm not the all-powerful Supreme. But Lord Chaitanya refined the Dvaita. It's not that he changed it, but refined the Dvaita school of thought by saying that we are simultaneously one and different. We are similar in quality, but very different in quantity. And that way, there's still a dualism, still a significant difference between the living entity and the Lord, but that we have the same quality of Sat Chid and Ananda. And in this way, the relationship is there because of our similar quality. Ah, Lord. I don't have anything else to say about Madhvacharya Prabhu. Maybe you could say something, please.
Um, well, he appeared in the 13th century in Udupi, which is in South India. There's still a famous temple there of Udupi Krishna. It's kind of the center for the Tattvavadis, the followers of Madhvacharya. Beautiful place, beautiful temple, beautiful deity. There's a wonderful story behind the discovery of that deity, discovered by Madhvacharya, and as I recall, a very large lump of gopi chandan that was gifted to him by a merchant after he rescued that merchant who was having difficulty to navigate the sandbars in a body of water. I always found it interesting about Madhvacharya that he, because there is a gap in the disciplic succession between Vyasadeva and Madhvacharya, a gap of many years. And so the story is that Madhvacharya actually journeyed into the Himalayas to Badrikashram.
Hare Krishna, Radhika Prabhu, sorry to interrupt. Can I quickly make a request? Sorry,
Sure.
Prabhu, it's Parijat. Yashodaya Prabhu, can you leave and rest and I can facilitate whatever time is left?
You're kicking me out.
Yeah, unless you want to stay, but I can see your distress. I didn't know that you were ill. I'm
No.
sorry.
I mean,
Later.
what difference does it make sitting here or laying in bed? We'll be suffering either way. But thanks for your concern.
So you good? Okay, just check. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Radhika Prabhu. Sorry, please. Madhvacharya pastimes are so much nectar. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so Madhvacharya traveled to Badrikashram in the Himalayas, which is the present abode of Srila Vyasadeva. He is still there today. He has not left the planet. Srila Vyasadeva is alive and well and living in Badrikashram. And but he does not reveal himself to just anyone and everyone. There is a procedure to go through in order to see him. There's a bunch of specific austerities that have to be performed over a period of time, and you can get the darshan of Srila Vyasadeva. So Madhvacharya was blessed with the darshan of Srila Vyasadeva and took initiation directly from Vyasadeva. And as I recall, Srila Vyasadeva also gifted to him a shalagram shila known as Ashtamurti, which I think is still worshipped today in Udupi. So we are all greatly indebted to Srila Madhvacharya because when he is the founder of our sampradaya, and but his followers and he himself, he wrote a bunch of books in which he defeated the followers of Shankaracharya, the Manas, repeatedly kicked their butts, and he was an incredibly powerful personality as a preacher, and he was able to soundly defeat the Manas who were predominant at the time, and established his Dvaita philosophy of Vaishnavism, very, very firmly established, mostly in South India, but it spread all over Southeast Asia and South Asia. So trying to think what else. It's probably all that comes to mind at the moment.
The only other thing I can remember, Prabhu, is that he took sannyas at 11 years old.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Fortunately, that sort of thing is not allowed in ISKCON.
Yeah, his whole life was extraordinary. His pastimes are amazing. It's an incredible story to hear. Yeah, I don't have all those stories immediately accessible. I would happily read and discuss some of those, but I just don't remember it all. Um, yeah, so four Sampradayas and Madhvacharya is the head of the Brahma Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya. So um, Brahma, at the top of the Sampradaya, he heard directly from Lord Vishnu. Brahma's disciples, including Narada Muni. Narada Muni was the spiritual master of Vyasadeva, and Madhvacharya took initiation directly from Vyasadeva. And then the rest of the Sampradaya descended from there. How did that go?
According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that from Brahma to Narada Muni to Vyas to Madhvacharya, that's the Sampradaya.
Yeah. And then from there, how did we get to Madhavendra Puri?
Madhavendra Puri?
Right.
I'm just looking at the song Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami wrote about our Guru Sampradaya. You know, the one Krishna Hoite Chaturmukha, Hoy Krishna Sevanmukha. Anyway, he lists our whole Sampradaya there. He says from Brahma to Narada to Vyas to Madhvacharya. Purna Pragya Tirtha, Padmanabha Tirtha. Are you asking about Madhavendra Puri? And it's way down there. Like there's a lot of devotees in between Madhavendra Puri and Madhvacharya.
Yeah.
Hari Tirtha, Madhava Tirtha, Akshobhya Tirtha, Jaya Tirtha, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Vidyadhiraja Tirtha, Vijaya Dvaja Tirtha, Purushottama Tirtha, keeps going. Subramanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati Tirtha, and then Ishvari Puri, and then Madhavendra Puri.
Right.
I'm sorry, Madhavendra Puri, and then Ishvara Puri.
Then Ishvara
Yeah.
Puri
And then Lord Chaitanya himself.
and also Advaitacharya.
Right. Yes. But he didn't include that in the song. Then he goes from Lord Chaitanya to the six Goswamis, and then Yadunandana Acharya, Krishnadas Kaviraj, Lokanath Goswami, Narottam Das, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Baladev Vidyabhushana, Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So that's our Guru Sampradaya.
God.
Jai. Glorious.
All right. We're at 8:06.
Yeah, really.
So,
Okay.
thank you very much. I'm sorry that you had to perform this austerity and ill health.
No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I was just lying to you. I'm totally good. Thank you, Prabhu, for participating. Thank you for always having wonderful comments. All right. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Haribo.
Hare Krishna.